So, welcome to this lecture series on environment and ecology presented by Mentors for IS in association with Bangalore IS Academy and Namak APSC. So, in this particular video, we'll be discussing about limiting factors when it comes to aquatic ecosystems. So this is actually a very general term. We have already discussed about limiting factors, but once again, since we are starting off with this, let me just once again explain limiting factors. So when it comes to ecology, limiting factors refers to resources or environmental features that limit the growth, abundance, or distribution of an organism or a population of organisms in any ecosystem. Therefore, the limiting factor can also result in competition between individuals of the same species or competition between different species. So there's an example over here just in order to drive home the point what limiting factors are. What do you mean by limiting factors? For example, you can take a pond. This pond may be able to support several small alligators but only one large alligator. Therefore, limiting factors determine the carrying capacity of the environment, that is the maximum population of a species an environment can actually support or sustain. This is nothing but a limiting factor. So in today's video, we are discussing the limiting factors when it comes to aquatic ecosystems. See, we have already discussed about terrestrial ecosystems. When it comes to terrestrial ecosystems, temperature and precipitation are the most important limiting factors that is of a terrestrial ecosystem. But when it comes to an aquatic ecosystem, it is not temperature or precipitation, rather it is sunlight and oxygen. Please remember the most important factors when it comes to an aquatic ecosystem, they are sunlight and oxygen. Okay, so we'll just briefly discuss the different limiting factors when it comes to an aquatic ecosystem. So the first is sunlight. Now, sunlight is obviously important for the producers in aquatic ecosystems for carrying on photosynthesis. However, sunlight penetration rapidly diminishes as it passes down the column of water. The depth to which light penetrates a water body determines the extent of plant distribution. So based on light penetration and plant distribution, we will classify the aquatic ecosystem into two zones, that is the photic zone and the aphotic zone. So I'll just briefly discuss photic zone and aphotic zone. So the first is photic zone. Now the photic zone, as is represented in this image over here, forms the upper layer of the aquatic ecosystems up to which light penetrates and within which photosynthetic activity is confined. This zone is actually a well mixed proportion of the water body where the depth zone will depend upon the transparency of water. I hope this is understood. Usually the photic zone is restricted to the top layer of an aquatic ecosystem, and the depth up to which the photic zone may extend will also depend upon the transparency of water, or in turn the turbidity of water. If the water is more transparent, light is obviously able to penetrate more into the water and hence the photic zone will have more depth. If the water is turbid, then the depth of the photic zone will actually be restricted. When you compare photic zone with aphotic zone, the aphotic zone is the exact opposite, where light is not able to penetrate. Therefore, aphotic zone is the lower layer of the aquatic ecosystem where light penetration and plant growth are restricted. So hence, please remember, photosynthetic activity is only in photic zone. Whereas when it comes to aphotic zone, you do not have photosynthesis. You only have respiration by other organisms. See, in photic zone, photosynthesis and respiration takes place. But when it comes to aphotic zone, you don't have photosynthesis. You only have respiration taking place in the aphotic zone. Okay, next we'll take up oxygen level. Now, When it comes to aquatic ecosystems, oxygen is dissolved in water where its concentration varies constantly depending on factors that influence the input and output of oxygen in water. Also, the concentration of dissolved oxygen in water is several times lower than the concentration of oxygen in an equivalent volume of air. So, simply put, the concentration of oxygen in water is less than the concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere. Next, oxygen enters the aquatic ecosystem by two ways. One, through air-water interface. Second one, through photosynthetic activity of producers in water. These are the two ways. Therefore, the amount of dissolved oxygen will depend upon these two things or these two ways. At the same time, the dissolved oxygen will escape the water body through the same air-water interface and through respiration of organisms in the water body. So this is how the oxygen level, the oxygen dissolved in water bodies will be depleted, will deplete or be diminished. This another important point that I want you to remember. So the other important factor is that the other important factor which affects the amount of oxygen in water is temperature. So oxygen, please remember, oxygen is less soluble in warm water, and also warm water enhances decomposer activity, which may once again use up more oxygen. Hence, increasing the temperature of water increases the rate at which oxygen is depleted from water. Therefore, if you have climate change, due to climate change we have global warming. If the temperature increases and in turn the temperature of the water body also increases, then the oxygen level which is present, the concentration of oxygen in water bodies will also diminish at a much faster rate. Also, apart from increase in temperature, the decrease in temperature might also affect the level of oxygen. Now what happens is that in some areas, when the temperature drops substantially, the surface water freezes, forming a layer of ice. So you can see this over here in the image, in the first image. So when the temperature drops, the surface layer actually freezes, forming a layer of ice. So this actually plunges the water into darkness because now sunlight is not able to penetrate deeper, and hence photosynthetic activity drops. Now, even though photosynthetic activity drops in this water body, respiration does not stop, respiration continues, and due to this continuance in respiration, the oxygen level continues to diminish over a period of time. And as oxygen level continues to diminish over a period of time, life becomes difficult for organisms in this water body, and eventually they start to die, which is actually seen in the second image. So what happens is that when you have this ice layer over a water body, we really don't come to know about anything. But when this ice melts, when warmer temperature arrives and when this ice layer melts, that is when we actually come to know that all these fishes have actually died, and these fishes have died due to depletion in oxygen, because all these organisms have taken up all the oxygen, that is used up all the oxygen, but there is no photosynthetic activity to produce oxygen in the first place. That is the reason. So please remember, whenever dissolved oxygen level drops below 3 to 5 parts per million, organisms will begin to die. 3 to 5 parts per million, that is when aquatic organisms begin to die. Okay. Now, apart from sunlight and the concentration of dissolved oxygen in water, there are few other factors which might also promote or inhibit the growth in aquatic ecosystems. That is transparency, temperature, and nutrients. So let me just briefly take up transparency first. Now, transparency affects the extent of light penetration, and we already know that if it affects light penetration, how is productivity affected in a water body? So, suspended particles like clay or silt, which is seen in this particular image over here, or even phytoplankton, increase in the population of phytoplankton may make the water turbid. which limits light penetration and hence photosynthetic activity in a water body. If photosynthetic activity is depleted due to diminishing light penetration, the oxygen level in this particular water body will also come down. If water level comes down, obviously the organisms which are able to survive in that water body will also come down. Therefore, the transparency of water is also important to maintain the productivity in that particular aquatic ecosystem. Next, temperature. Again, you must have some fair understanding as to how temperature affects the productivity in a water body. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows, due to higher specific heat, water does not heat up or cool down as rapidly as air or ground. Rather, water takes more time to heat up or cool down. So, since water temperatures are less subject to change, aquatic organisms have narrow temperature tolerance limit, meaning they're not able to adapt or adjust to rapid changes in temperatures. Hence, any substantial change in water temperature can threaten the survival of aquatic organisms. Therefore, temperature also acts as a limiting factor. The fifth one is nutrients. Now, I'm pretty sure you know that nutrients are very essential for the survival of organisms. We have discussed all the nutrient cycles earlier. So, any depletion in the level of nutrients in water will once again affect productivity in aquatic ecosystems, because obviously primary producers in aquatic ecosystems require certain nutrients to produce food in order to sustain themselves, and that is how the food chain starts. And if primary producers are able to produce enough food, the entire food chain or the entire food web is able to sustain itself. Therefore, nutrients are also important to ensure productivity in a body of water. So these makes up for few of the important limiting factors when it comes to aquatic ecosystems. Again, if you do have any doubts, please do write to us in the comment section. Thank you.